Welcome back, Heroes fans, to the Heroes Global Championship. Only one series left this weekend. I can't believe we are already here. I remember the start of part 1, and it seemed like that just flew by. And now we have part 2's just flown by, and next weekend are the playoffs.
It does seem to, be escaping me, really, the experience here at HGC North America. The fact that we are at least hitting a milestone, it is pretty crazy. It does feel like, HGC kicked off just yesterday.
And we have so many incredible things in the works, starting with next week in the playoffs, the step ladder, playing all the way up to see who joins Tempo Storm in representing North America at the mid-season brawl. After that, the Crucible, where one of our next 2 teams will be facing one of the Open Division teams who emerge victorious through Open Division playoffs, which start on Monday. So there's so many different Heroes of the Storm activities and competitions for you guys to look forward to at home. It's been an awesome Phase 1 in the inaugural year of the Heroes Global Championship. I am so happy that we've gotten to be a part of it.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, all depending on which team you're a fan of. But I don't think, other than you only have interest in Tempo Storm, I don't think anybody did not feel a bit of the roller coaster, that is the North American scene. Tempo was the only one that just every week minus 1 series, and even then it was against a team, losing to Gale Force Esports was debatably the number 2 team, so it's pretty easy to be like, yeah, it makes sense that they would lose that series, but every other point, they are the only ones that are just done exactly how you would expect.
Talk about a team who did not what we expected at all. Team 8. Goodness me. They came in part 1. They beat B-Step, I think was one of their very first opponents. And that was the first time we looked at them and said, wow, what? Who are these guys? And they have continued to impress. They had a hard time at the beginning of part 2. They faltered slightly, losing to Tempo Storm, Gale Force, and B-Step, but they importantly righted themselves and are on the right course now to maybe being one of the favorites to represent NA at the next international competition at Mid-Season Brawl.
Yeah, it's going to be, interesting to see how that plays out, especially for Team 8, just because I do think that Team 8 is debatably one of the best tournament teams in North America, and that is always different than that of a league. I always talk about Dignitas being that tournament team of Europe. So the playoff format, I don't know. I just don't know how much they're going to be able to thrive in that type of situation with their backs against the wall. It's going to be really tense for all those teams at the playoffs.
Well, Team 8 will be playing with a well-known substitute for this series versus Note tomorrow, playing with Dyrus, who has been participated in the Try Hard for Good. And they also will be up against Note tomorrow, who is hoping that they can put their best foot forward to the Open Division teams who are looking at them as a possible target for the Crucible. We're going to Infernal Shrines. I also believe that we have some words from both of our teams. Maybe.
So with Dyrus subbing in this weekend, it started with Justin just messaging him on his stream, and Dyrus thought he was trolling, but he was actually interested in it. What we are hoping to achieve with Dyrus subbing is not only exposure for us as players, but just the Heroes competitive scene in general, and I think it would just be fun playing with him. I think No Tomorrow is a solid team, whether they show up the weekend. It kind of depends. They have good drafting, and you just can't underestimate them, because they could show up and beat Gale Force, beat a top team.
We're going to go in there, we're going to play a really solid macro game, not just fight anymore. Because what our team used to do is do a lot of fighting, but less macro. We're gonna do a good macro play. We're gonna play into our game and draft into how we want to draft and go with our game plan throughout the entire thing. A weakness that we can exploit from them is their team fight in general is way weaker than ours. So I think in team fights we're confident in fighting them 5 vs 5 and just outplaying them.
Tiger JK finding a weakness for teammate in the team fighting. That's also a possibility, having a sub though. But we know Dyrus has been many a champion in other games. So I know you're a bit of a fan of him. What kinds of heroes are you expecting him to play for Teammate?
Well, looking at his competitive background, Dyrus was known for more beefy heroes. You know, the equivalent of Heroes of the Storm would be kind of like that either a main warrior or that Dahaka side soaking in an off lane. Very rarely would be that melee assassin-esque, but it was always in the close quarters, usually with higher health bars.
Well, I have good news for you. You have completely nailed the kinds of heroes he was playing in the scrim that was televised that we heard a little bit about from June as well versus Tempo Storm. We saw a lot of Dahaka play, Leoric too, played a little bit of Varian even in that game. Justin switched over to playing Chromie so that Dyrus could try out Variant, and then some Zarya played too. So should be filling, I think for the most part, that secondary warrior that both Yoda and sometimes Prismaticism, even Glaurung would fill into. Yeah,
and that's going to only play to the strengths of Dyrus because, again, this guy is just an absolute veteran in the MOBA market. He essentially remained at the top of a region for years. He lasted every single meta. Like that's the most impressive thing for me watching him play today is like sadly we only get a small sample of him. But if for instance any participation into HGC, the guy withstands metas. There is no meta that he can learn whatever hero he is asked to learn, fill his role, and be successful. Through roster swap on roster swap, the only guy remaining a part of Team Solo Mid, in fact, was Dyrus.
And Teammate was a good team, or is a good team for him to be a part of. Teammate has known to have incredible shot calling, consistent shot calling from Glaurung, so that allows Dyrus to focus on his own game. And Dyrus, when he was playing Dahaka, when he was playing Leoric, he was landing skill shot after skill shot. His drags were insane. I hope you guys at home get to see that here. But as we said before, no tomorrow. They are looking to be strong. They're changing things up now that they have only one series left before the Crucible.
So here, No Tomorrow is going to open up with a Medivh ban, setting some focus already into the comforts of Team 8. And, you know, one thing to think about, even though this game in itself, the series in itself, does not affect the North American standings and the message that No Tomorrow wants to send, if they could put up good fights here, the first step to do is if Dyrus automatically is going to have a struggling hero pool. It's just not enough time. So then if you stab at Glaurung on top of it, two players a little bit less comfortable, especially the leader, might be a tool that No Tomorrow can capitalize on here in this draft.
You would think that, and maybe so with the change-up of having Dyrus in, but so many teams now have tried to do this to Team 8, and I think where it has not come to fruition for teams is they have flexibility within the smaller pool. Yes, they may only draft a certain amount of, or a certain set of heroes, but within that, Greymane, multiple players, Dahaka, multiple players, Anubarak, multiple players, so that they always work themselves out of any sort of situation that they're in by having those core heroes that all work together in perfect synergy, which is what we know Team 8 can do.
And Team 8 has also gotten significantly better at, rather than taking the heroes that we know Glaurung is successful on and always forcing them, they've also gotten a lot better at just kind of trying to play the map a bit more. And if it just doesn't work, if none of his heroes are going to thrive in that comp, rather than just being like, pick me the Zeratul, we're going in, we do see him to have a more realistic approach to the meta and just the competitive Heroes of the Storm scene. There's the Leoric you were talking about, probably going to be Dyrus on that hero here, and then Greymane, again for Glaurung, can be picked up. No Tomorrow. Going to respond with the Malfurion. Still need to find some backline.
Cassia banned by Team 8. No Tomorrow trying to play with her a lot versus Team Freedom last week. Unfortunately for them, it didn't work out. Did not work to plan for them for the most part, and that is what put them in the Crucible situation, not being able to win that series versus Freedom. I wondered if their hint toward not wanting to play team fighting would even mean that they were going to shift away from Cassia and try to play to the map a bit more, but it's hard to tell, and Team 8 just don't want to have to even deal with her this game.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic in play here when it comes to this draft. No Tomorrow, 10 seconds away from identifying their second pick in this rotation. Again, a backliner is going to be the main focus that they would like to pick up. They're going to stick to that global, get themselves a fall stat. A Gul'dan ban is something that I think could be pretty beneficial for No Tomorrow in this game, with the Leoric picked up, with Greymane already locked in for Team 8, but also maybe not, because no, never mind. I thought for a moment Yoda would be the primary player for that, but that's not the case. He's been shifting away from that backliner. He's been more of those melees here, so it could work even here.
Yeah, I don't know what else. Maybe support for Buds. Not necessarily because of his hero pool, but just trying to deny this Uther Malfurion again for No Tomorrow, since they've already picked up Malfurion and they don't want him to be able to deny the full effect of things like Roots, Twilight Dreams because of Guardian of the Ancient Kings and the extra armor it provides for a team.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's also the gray main, you know, that exists for Team 8. The synergy between those two either way. Team 8 has volunteered to rid of the Zarya. Not want to deal with those shielders. There's the Uther you were talking about. So does Team 8 actually want to pick up that Gul'dan? It's got a lot of shrine control. Typically works very well with Leoric for those long sustaining fights. Suddenly everybody gets poked down really low, and Leoric comes back from the dead to make sure he is the finisher of that fight.
Justin was playing a little bit of Diablo in the scrims versus Tempo.
Good map for it. I'd like to see it, you know. Throw it in the easy bake oven. We've got the Leoric.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Just crank the dial, wait for the thing to ring. I'd be ready for it. Either way, is there anything else here? With the Uther removed, double support is an option on Infernal Shrines, but with the Leoric picked up, that would either be a double warrior, double support forced, if that was what Team 8 wanted to try and make happen. And with so much emphasis already onto supports, it's unlikely.
Any chance that Buds wants to play Ariel? No. Rhaegar Chromie, so leaving Justin's hero till the end. I wondered, with Leoric, the synergy you have with Detainment, Strike, and Entomb, if that was a possibility.
Yeah.
But Buds instead wanting to make sure he has a cleanse for the stun locks and roots that Malfurion has. Also, some shrine clear because of his lightning shield. And again, Chromie. This is just... It's Team 8. Team 8 almost... seems like they approach drafting of just like, we have our idea of all of these very important heroes. Yeah. We'll figure out who plays them later. And they did, I guess they did talk about that somewhat with us too.
I think that is a really healthy idea in scrims, especially. I personally feel like every scrim you should go into, it shouldn't be, can my team play this? It should always be, what is the best? And then we learn to play it, right? That is the intent of scrims. In tournaments, a little bit different. You know, I like teammates' approach to it. It's honestly a rare one to see those interflexing with only specific heroes between multiple players. It's not very common that you see that. And I think it's a healthy approach. No Tomorrow going, wow, extremely offensive now with their rotation. Genji, Kerrigan with that Anubarak, and there is the last pick, Diablo. This draft just went from... normal, to just, what? That was, yeah, it got really fast there with that rotation of No Tomorrow, the Kerrigan and the Genji.
No Tomorrow started the HGC with double melee assassin comps. They played Alarak and Kerrigan. It has always been a possibility for No Tomorrow. Now they have Genji, Kerrigan again. They say they're not going to be as focused on team fighting, but it does seem like, at least here for Game 1 on Infernal Shrines, we're sticking to it.
Yeah, they do have a global advantage, so, you know, there is some option of opting into all-inning on the macro game here for No Tomorrow, but I agree with you. The Kerrigan kind of makes that really unlikely. It does provide a reasonable amount of split pressure here for No Tomorrow's composition, as in there is a solid shrine control only requiring one hero and solid global for that side soak. But Teammates' draft isn't one that I naturally would be sold on, but that last two double squishy melee assassins, No Tomorrow pretty much just all in on the hyper-aggression death ball to where I feel like Glorong and the rest of Team 8 is going to be very comfortable dealing with it.
Yeah, Kerrigan does not have the normal kind of support that you would want for a Kerrigan pick. There's no Divine Shield. There's not even a Sanctification to help her make sure that she can build up her own shields while sitting on the point. So that changes how what I presume to be Talking Trees will have to play Kerrigan in this game.
I see a lot of this game going down to No Tomorrow is going to look to try and force a fight. And then immediately the APOC or Lightning Breath, depending on what we see, Diablo will respond in some way. And as long as that target is saved, the fight just snowballs against No Tomorrow. But if that target does not go down, they can quickly escalate that into staggered death upon staggered death. I think Team 8 will be restrained enough to never let those staggered deaths happen, but one pick is all it takes for a Shrine when you have a Kerrigan.
And maybe that'll be enough, especially in the early game before things like timeout come into play. We are ready for this game. Let's head into Team 8 versus No Tomorrow. Game 1 on Shrines.
And so on the blue of Infernal Shrines is going to be Team 8. Buds is on the Rhaegar Justing, filling out that front line on the Diablo. Dyrus is going to be the Leoric. Glorung, as always, on his Greymane, and Prismaticism on the Chromie.
And the members of No Tomorrow in red. Tiger JK playing Malfurion. Erho playing Anu Barak. Talking Trees not playing Kerrigan, playing Genji. Casanova playing Kerrigan here. And finally, Jason on Falstad.
Looking towards those level 1s in this game, gotta give a solid check mark over to No Tomorrow. They have a absurdly dominant level 1, something Team 8 will not want to deal with. There is one question I want to posture here when looking at Dyrus, obviously being newer here to all compared to every player competing, and that is going to be that into a melee death ball composition with pressure on the front line. Leoric usually is the first to receive it, and properly timing and effectively using Wraith Walks could be a bad or a difficult thing. Genji going in onto Glorung, that's going to be first blood for No Tomorrow. Talking about that level 1, just showing it off.
And Team 8 did not have all of their team members there to defend versus all 5 of No Tomorrow hanging out in mid. So a bit of an overstep there for Team 8, but shouldn't make the difference in the long run too much. Just need to make sure to play this laning phase correct. Try to make sure that they can get the rotations, clear out the waves, but not get caught whenever they try to rotate, especially because Erho is always going to be watching for those rotations. So Prismaticism, Buds, these are easy pickings for No Tomorrow, but Justin trying to make sure to keep them safe.
Already, Team 8 doing a decent job when it comes to their laning phase. They have a solid amount of wave clear compared to No Tomorrow, and they're trying to abuse it. It's not like Team 8 has a lot of wave clear. It's more No Tomorrow has 0. They go in, Erho a bit out of spot. There he goes for the burrow. Dyrus ends up hitting the Drain Hope, and that is now a kill for No Tomorrow, or against No Tomorrow, excuse me. It's going to be even here, 1-1 as we have our first Shrine spawning.
This is a cool rotation setup by Team 8 that they had pushed the waves alternatively, and that gave them time to get top cleared out and then all fully rotate as 5 in the mid to get that pick. Understanding that they don't want to just go head-to-head because that does put them in a possibility of someone getting caught from a Kerrigan combo. So switching those out. But now Casanova is starting to do the Kerrigan thing on a Shrine.
He's not 4 yet, so he's not going to have the ideal talent for it, but Tiger JK gave him the mana needed early on there with that Innervate, so he is just fine and dandy playing the Leapfrog. This is why Kerrigan is a thing on Infernal Shrines. It's more about the rest of the map. What do we see Team 8 doing in the downtime? Because they're obviously just flat out forfeiting that Shrine.
They're playing more for the late game, it seems, at least for a different spike. But this is a pick. Wraith Walk for Dyrus. Yes, does not have Hardened Bones, so didn't take less damage from that. A few more Shuriken. Take out Leo.
A few more Shuriken was all it took. Is this Q and his auto attack both the Shuriken?
Oh no, I guess that was the auto attack. I just got excited to talk about Shuriken.
Okay, well, you know, a little hyphy on your Shuriken play here, but Gilly, I think we have some forgiveness in us. That is a Punisher over the wall. No Tomorrow, not only getting that side pick, setting themselves up there, but a 3-man combo dropped off the wall. Sadly, no DPS to back that one up, and not even a front wall achieved here for No Tomorrow.
So now we have the standard Prismaticism build of Chromie, Time Walker's Pursuit, and Bronze Talons, but still getting Mobius Loop. Pair that up with Slowing Sands at level 8, and the ability to throw out more Dragon's Breaths, more consistently throwing those out, instead of making sure that they have the one big burst of damage when it finally comes down. Also helps since Chromie has been wave clearing by herself quite a lot.
Yeah, she's stuck off kind of on her own. And again, when I complimented teammates wave clear, it's again not their wave clear, it's the lack thereof for No Tomorrow. And Chromie's kind of been at the poor end of that short stick. No pun intended there on her height.
I take offense for her.
She's, but this is a nice rotation out of No Tomorrow up in the mid. This is pretty much all they can do is be overly aggressive as a death ball because, again, they don't win on macro. It's just trying to catch members of Team 8 isolated and on their own.
Dragon's Breath reveals several members hanging out for No Tomorrow, looking for those picks, trying to stop Team 8 from getting their Shaman in the top lane. But No Tomorrow, or Team 8, playing very cautiously, not wanting to give any picks to No Tomorrow. Team 8 will get a little bit of a bonus once they hit 8 because they'll have Slowing Sands for this next shrine. Just have to hold on until then.
Leoric is up, stuck on his island here with the Faucet in the 1v1. Jason's going to have to clear out that Shaman camp that's pressuring in. And Dyrus is a pretty effective solo laner. The Faucet should have free clear just because he is going to be the ranged. Wow, even sending a lot of members of the teams here, just making sure they can get away from those. No Tomorrow has the option to back out, take their own Shaman if they want, but with the Kerrigan, they don't want to waste any time. Get back to the Leapfrog, make sure they get that Shrine control, and another Punisher.
Somewhat different Genji build than what we've seen so far, but just a lot of build diversity in general for Genji, which is awesome to see. He has Dragon Claw here, so as long as he is able to absorb damage with Deflect, he can do some area damage, which helps out potentially with Shrine Clear or even to the Wave Clear issue that No Tomorrow had. But they also now have Boomerang too, which will help with that. Also Dodge, stopping some of the basic attacks from Teammates members.
The weird thing here is that Team 8 committed all members to this shrine for a moment, and they backed out. They've sent Glowing to the bottom. They've, again, forfeited it for, again, the experience. But they weren't as sold on this rotation as they were on the first. The first, they didn't even blink an eye. This one, they committed and then backed outward. I'm wondering what the thought process there is. You know, I mean, they are playing with the sub. Obviously, that's something that could change the decision-making of the team.
Maybe they're trying to look for a pick, or even the fact that they have Chromie, Heroic, before any other Heroics there. Speaking of that Heroic, Casanova gets thrown right in the middle of the sands and pays for it with his life. Heroic abilities nearly here for both of the teams. Let's see if there's any adjustment from the norm as the teams get them.
The answer to that so far is sadly no. I got excited, you know. We
X-Strike.
X-Strike.
Fly.
Faucet noped right out of there, sniffing out that gank. Smart choice from him. But that's going to leave Leoric up on top lane on an island for a bit. Allow him to do some work there with his nice wave clear.
No easy bake oven apocalypse for our Diablo player who is under fire from No Tomorrow. Slowing Sands trying to stop that as best as Prismaticism can. But yeah, X-Strike and Malfurion's considering Tranquility or Twilight Dream ends up on the standard though.
This is going to be a camp pick tip here for No Tomorrow. Sorry, I'm really interested in just watching specifically Dyrus's movements in a lot of situations, just based on the small intricacies of playing at the professional level of Heroes of the Storm versus obviously the short-term Hero League experience that he's seen here. Just even when it comes to where he stands in a lane, depending on how many people he sees. But he is on Leoric. He's been rather confident with that positioning. He's always got the Wraith walk out.
Yeah, that was one thing he talked about in scrims, is trying to make sure that he was moving efficiently. Cocoon stopping.
They gust it. There's the APOC going to land onto two members. Casanova taking a lot of damage. He is going to go down. Ancestral Healing does not land. Tiger JK ends up picking up the camp, but at the cost of Urho.
So a 2-for-1 in favor of Team 8. No heroic abilities left except for that Ancestral Healing that wasn't able to save the life of Glaurung in that fight. Still have X-Strike though for Talking Trees. Stunned up, trying to stop. There's Deflect. Trees uses a Swift Strike to escape the line of battle.
And we have ourselves another shrine up in the top lane, but it can't pressure around mid. No Tomorrow may want to focus on. No Tomorrow does have the silver lining of having, again, a possibility of moving to the Shamans with it being up on top. Typically, you don't always like taking your Shamans with it pushing into the same lane. The main reason for it, why you would do it, is because it does gain you usually one whole rotation of Skeletal Defenders as it pushes out and teammate has to clear it. That's about all it gains. It's just an amplified minion wave, much like Knights can be on Dragonshire. So they start. Falstead's still here. Leoric has not rotated up yet, so no Dyrus here for Team 8.
Yeah, Team 8 trying to get 13. They already have timeout, but would like more. Glaurung in trouble, gets rooted, follow-up combo, but Cleanse and Ancestral Healing keeps Glaurung alive. Now they can try to turn this fight. Dyrus is almost here to join. Arrow gets thrown back with Overpower and taken out quickly.
Trees takes a bit of damage, dashes away. No heroics were used by No Tomorrow. They didn't all in that fight. Maybe the way, you know, they baited out an Ancestral, so it may not be the perfect comparison, but that was a lot of my fears in the draft when we talked about it. They go in, they look for an initiation, they don't get it. One Ancestral, one counter momentum measure, and suddenly the fight quickly crumbles here. No Tomorrow, Dyrus was able to sniff out this camp being taken by them.
Yeah, if they could stop this, this would limit what No Tomorrow could do to defend versus this Punisher, but still not feeling as confident. They didn't have Greymane. They decided to play it more safely because there wasn't any sort of big advantage for Team 8. So now Team 8 have a Punisher to start sieging down the structures of No Tomorrow. How much can they do, though, especially versus all the combos?
Trees?
The first thing would be taking out Talking Trees, but he has Swift Strike. He has all the escape he needs to get back. They are stopping No Tomorrow from attacking this Punisher with the full force of their heroes, and here they go. Entomb gets flipped out, but does still do a lot with that. But Falstad taken down, Kerrigan out too, and Justin turns around, smashing a Nubarak against a wall. 3 kills. And a fort.
That was so unfortunate for No Tomorrow. The Cocoon into that chokehold actually created another tool to body block, only amplifying the initiation here for Justing on that Diablo. The APOC in any heavy, tight, you know, quarters like we experienced that last fight there, it always is a, I mean, both of his heroics. Diablo is just a flat out a hero you don't want to fight in those tight corridors, and I mean, it really, the Cocoon just made a good APOC a great one very quickly there in that fight. Team A only furthering their lead as they're about to pick up their 16 talent tiers. They're yet to really open up the map at all, though. A lot of that has to do with the forfeiting of those early objectives. Look, you can see Dyrus. He's dabbling with what he can get away with at the World of Competitive, because traditionally that Leoric would stay in that until he Wraith walks all the way away, right? Get as much vision as long as he can, but you can see Dyrus going like, is this safe? And he's like, he half the Wraith walks, and he's like, no, it's probably safe here, huh? And it's just, that's the kind of small things when watching his positioning I always enjoy here.
Yeah, it's cool to see his mindset and what he is toying with the other team, because he's played the Scrim versus Tempo Storm, but No Tomorrow is a different team. It's his first time playing against them, understanding, especially this kind of composition too.
Well, I think the biggest thing here, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but being a dude who has watched a lot of, you know, games of Dyrus in the past and, you know, knowing his background, I feel like the biggest thing for me that I'd be looking at, hold on a minute here, Dyrus coming down to join this fight.
Looking for an Entomb.
Doesn't pull the trigger, at least not yet. Well, Falstead's still getting that side soak. I forgot my point. I had something clever to say. Something about Dyrus, but I don't remember what it was.
You were talking about Dyrus testing out his limits.
Still don't remember what it was.
All right, well, we've got a Shrine activating in 7 seconds, so we'll move right on past that. 16 been up for a while for Team 8. Meanwhile, No Tomorrow just trying to get that. That's why we saw Falstad soaking in the top lane as long as Jason could. It's almost here for No Tomorrow. We're going to start this, get a few. Nope, those are taken away from by Prismaticism.
Forced a cleanse out of Tiger JK, so that's not something they'll have. There goes the burrow away as the Drain Hope still connecting. Jason with the flight, drops the Gus into the Twilight Dream, but a beautiful timeout there from the Chromie is going to let her be comfortable. The Cocoon falling out of time, and things are falling apart for No Tomorrow.
Justing has popped out of the Cocoon and now ready to rage. Look at the Entomb. It is a bad spot to be in for Tiger JK, but still had his Ice Block. Ancestral Healing keeps Dyrus alive.
That was about
keeps them in the fight.
Pixel perfect there with the Ancestral coming out from Buds, and a lot of solid pre-cleanse, just so huge shout out to him. Keeping teammate alive and ahead here in this game. They're going to move up, trying to stop these Skeletal Defenders. The Overpower as it looks like Genji taking a bit of damage there on the back line. Greymane gets blown up, and Genji's still alive, so no tomorrow. Oh my gosh, they actually get the Prismaticism pick too. They're going to be able to pull ahead.
Trees still making sure to get these picks. Clin stops Justin from getting hit from the combo, but it won't matter. Diablo will now have his souls reset as he respawns with only 24 skeletal defenders and 30 seconds until all of Team 8 are up. No Tomorrow started the Shrine phase not having 16, and yet they will finish it with a Punisher.
Yeah, you know, after you lose your souls with Primeval Diablo, you go from Primeval to just another bad guy, really, you know, is all you are. Not near the amount of HP. But I do remember a bit of the point I was going to talk about before with experiencing the scrim that Dyrus, the background that he's got of competitive heroes so far, that only one scrim against Temple. The biggest thing for me that I feel like when coming from his perspective and attempting to learn heroes, that's going to be the hardest thing to understand is trade-offs. Because no matter what, you know, in other MOBAs, you always use the argument, well, I can outscale my lane matchup, and I can always win the game by just that's it. But this one, they're with the multiple maps, with the multiple objectives. What is a smart trade-off on Cursed Hollow is not that one on Braxis Holdout. And so I think that a lot of the simple map that he's built in his head over time of like, especially from solo queue, of like, well, in solo queue, when this happens, this is the best response, is anything but what you experience at competitive, top-level competitive, but more importantly on diverse maps, which, again, he has not had the experience to be able to be like, yeah, you know, I've played a couple on Curse. I've seen multiple play styles on Curse with multiple draft approaches on Curse. It is too diverse, not the singular repetitive that he's probably more used to.
Yeah, that is so true. And even because of the map rotation, too, he was even like some of the battlegrounds was still learning and figuring out and talking about some of the objectives in that scrim with the team. Something that No Tomorrow maybe can take advantage of. So far, No Tomorrow have done a stand-up job with their double melee assassins, being able to claim all of the Punishers and keeping Team 8 back. And now with that last team fight win, they have a level lead, trying to press this advantage.
There's knock up, the combo, it has to land, the root follow-up. It looks like they have the damage. Glass Cannon Diablo gets blown up there thanks to the earlier reset you were discussing. That is now a nice breathing room for No Tomorrow. This keep front wall should not get them 20, but it will be a nice 19 3/4.
Well, they have Falstad still soaking in the mid too versus Leoric. So if he can start to weaken some of those towers, especially because there's a mercenary camp there, they are all but that 20 where they could try to get this first keep down to open up a possible way for them to win the game should they get another team fight victory.
And we've got 20 seconds before Justin is back to visit us here with that Diablo. That is what Team 8 wants if they're going to be able to defend this. And again, they don't even have the 20 talent here if they do. Chromie throwing out those W's left and right, trying to poke him away. No Tomorrow, they found themselves a keep. We've got 22 seconds for a Shrine, enough for Team 8 to get 20. I believe they don't have a global, so maybe not. But either way, this is what was a very good game here for Team 8, and what was in control is no longer No Tomorrow. One fight was all it took.
No Tomorrow even was looking to see if they could catch some of Team 8 rotating around. They will catch them here at the Shaman. Nice and pale start from Airho.
Nice pin against the wall. They blow him up. They just one-shot him. Apoc's going to drop. The combo pulls them in. Oh, the X strike on top of it all. Dyrus gets the Ancestral. Justin keeping himself alive, pinning somebody else against that wall. Casanova goes in for the kill, but that is a 1 for 4. Justin just straight wrecked No Tomorrow in that fight.
Yeah, that is what happens when you are fully stacked, my friends, with Devastating Charge at 13. A noob's health bar, gone, obliterated, super deleted.
He also had the Drain Hope on top of him.
Yeah.
Look at that. So you get the spike from Dyrus, the double stun, and they're already down to man. Twilight Dream hits 4, the combo hits 3, but they're already so weak, it just didn't even matter. That was just absurd. And the fact that Justin kept himself alive throughout the entire engagement, Casa went back. At least he got one pick, because if that was 5 for 3, we would be seeing possibly a multiple keep, could be even game.
Casa dove to oblivion right toward the Chromie. It was whoever could get there first, and that just happened to be a Sandblast that caught there first. Team 8, despite losing their keep and looking like they may be down and out of the game, still fighting, still kicking. They've got a Frozen Punisher. This is a Mortar Punisher.
The two fights that No Tomorrow has drastically lost have both been in, again, those tight corridors. They have to avoid those. And again, Diablo, conveniently, was the one forcing those problems in that area. So No Tomorrow, maybe the second time is enough. You know, where it's just, okay, we're never going to take these fights anymore. I can see them getting baited into it more now that Twilight Dream and Bolt are a thing in those tight corridors, but it just, again, it is very much, Diablo goes from a top premier warrior to just a beefy health bar outside in the open territory.
Well, even in that last one, too, there's a flight gust. Oh, he flew into a time trap. Oh, no, Trees does get a gust, but Twilight Dream was already used.
They got Glarung already. Prismaticum got Ancestral from Buds at last second. Somehow they stay alive, but nobody on No Tomorrow is dead yet. They're still going. Tiger JK getting drained by Dyrus. I don't know if he actually has that Ice Block remaining, but he kept himself up. The keep will fall. Maybe not even. Getting baited away. No way. No Tomorrow. Held on to the keep. They got a kill. No, what? Falstad just flew behind 4 people and landed on
time trap.
And he's not only did he survive, the crazy thing is the fact that they were able to get a pick on Glarung.
Yeah. Twilight Dream coming in handy. No Tomorrow and Team 8. This game is so back and forth, which is awesome to see for No Tomorrow.
They're going to be able to paint the map red here. The top keep will not fall. There is no incentive, and now that the Shaman camp has been removed, there's really no way that teammate, you know, gets that cheeky backdoor on a keep. They are one of the few teams that seems to really enjoy that approach to a map. You know, anytime they're like, look at the top keep, we can backdoor it.
Especially since they have a Leo.
Yeah, Leoric might be the best to do that, but again, that takes a lot of game sense, something that might not feel comfortable doing for Dyrus.
Looking at level 20 talents, Lord of Terror for Diablo. Gonna help him be even tankier, sitting and tanking a lot of the damage that No Tomorrow has been throwing out. Spectral Leech is the big deal for Leoric as well. Over on the other side, Deflect build again, and that is, it is completed. So Zanjin now allowing Deflect to do not only more damage with Reflect at 16, but it'll hit all of the nearby heroes. So again, the area damage that No Tomorrow has put out is obviously very good. They have that X Strike, they have Maelstrom with Kerrigan. It's just if they can survive. They really need to be able to blow someone up fast, again, like with Twilight Dream.
Shrine up here in 22 seconds. Team 8 has not made any gesture towards it because that's so much pressure with these camps that No Tomorrow has been able to pick up. But Kerrigan conveniently is going to set a timer here for Team 8 on this altar, or on the shrine, and the fact that is going to a keepless lane into, if Team 8 even manages to survive this, what would be a enforced lane on the side of No Tomorrow. This is it. A lot of it comes down to this altar and the remaining seconds afterwards.
Yeah, and with how many skeletal defenders have already been picked up, teammates gonna have to get in and get a fight.
20-0. It looks like it's gonna be a back and tap for No Tomorrow. 2 members went top and 3 went bottom. So this split, look at Dyrus has already moved out to actually split them. This is terrible for No Tomorrow to approach this team fight. Oh, they don't try and force it. Genji goes in, there's the bolt, there is the Twilight Dream on top of it. Timeout used. APOC goes onto the ground. Buds finds enough room to peel off of himself. Tiger JK is stuck there into the end. 2 Buds goes down onto the background, but there goes the Gust way up in the corner. Prismatic keeping himself alive. Kerrigan seals the deal, leaps onto Glarung, and now the focus is on the Trees.
Yeah, Glaurung's out of here. Talking Trees gets a heal. Back up, knock up, hits Dyrus, and then Justing is taken out. Only one was left for Team 8. It was Leoric, and he gets brought down. It was the force of making Buds run all the way around into the line of fire that started the rest of the destruction of Team 8. He could not Ancestral. Initially, it was good. They kept Glaurung alive despite so much initiation from the rest of the team of No Tomorrow. But in the end, No Tomorrow will take out Team 8 in game number 1.
Valiantly fought here for Team 8. Again, it is with a sub and a pretty big, disadvantage, but it's still well fought for No Tomorrow. At the very end here, taking game number 1 on Infernal Shrines.
With a composition that is a throwback for No Tomorrow. It's a little bit new. They brought in the Genji, but a little bit of the old too, that they were able to have this double melee assassin play that worked out for them.
Yeah, it was I was awesome to see that style of play from, you know, even Team 8. The fact that Justin was able to be such a terror on Diablo, even though we haven't seen Justin play Diablo, at least not as frequently as he had in the past for a long while. So it was a cool game to see. I'm excited to see how the draft moves going forward.
Yeah, I love the drafts of that game. I can't wait to see what we get in the next, as well as which battleground it will be on. We will see all of that and more right after this break. We'll see you soon.
No, tomorrow to approach this team fight. Oh, they don't try and force it. Genji goes in. There's the bolt. There is the Twilight Dream on top of it. Timeout used. APOC goes onto the ground. Buds finds enough room to peel off of himself. Tiger JK is stuck there into the end. Two Buds goes down onto the background, but there goes the Gust way up in the corner. Prismatic keeping himself alive. Kerrigan seals the deal, leaps onto Glorung, and now the focus is on the trees.
Yeah, Glorung's out of here. Talking Trees gets a heal. Back up. Knock up hits Dyrus, and then Justin is taken out. Only one was left for Team 8. It was Lior.
Peace. It has been my life's work. Through honesty and diplomacy, there is no obstacle. There is no obstacle we can't overcome. Within each of our hearts lies a yearning for peace. Even in this odd place, I truly believe that each of us can find a way to live in harmony. As I was saying, I am Jaina Proudmoore. We don't need to fight, but if you insist, so be it.
A terrible fate has befallen this world. Evil runs rampant, uncontested. I can stand by no longer. Die, Hellspawn! Crawl back to the pit from whence you came. I am the Archangel Tyrael, and I will defend this realm from all who would defile it. For I am justice itself.